Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to your morning coffee with Paul. I usually do these every Thursday. Last Thursday, I had a doctor's appointment with one of the kiddos, so couldn't do it. Yesterday, completely forgot it was Thursday. I'm not going to lie about that. I completely forgot. And it wasn't until I was buried in meetings at work, and I was like, man, Thursday really sucks today. And I was like, oh, sorry, guys. Don't be mad. But I will say that while I was dropping the eldest off at school today, I had a thought, and I'm really excited to talk about this with you. Like really excited to talk with you about it. Josh Allen's a unicorn. I know it sounds a little strange, but the fact of the matter is Josh Allen's a unicorn. There's just no way I can be convinced otherwise about it. That's just a fact. Um, I want to kind of go into a little bit about why. But first off, before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsors at cbdx.com. Promo code HTS to get 20% all orders on cbdx.com for all of your needs. And then finally, of course, thank you to Mr. Rogers Homes, your number one realtor in Arizona, helping with relocations and investment properties in Arizona. So thank you again to Sean for being an incredible Bills fan and, of course, supporting the channel. And Matthew 25 Farms, who's our charity this year. So make sure you go and click that description, and then you can see all the contact information for our Patreon, because we obviously make donations to Matthew 25 Farms. So you see Sports Hub in, good morning. So Josh Allen's a unicorn, and it's about time we start talking about him like he's a unicorn, because the fact of the matter is the man's a unicorn. Here's why. Ready? This game last week showed me a lot about the makeup of Josh Allen and how different he is than Mahomes. And I know the comparison's always there, right? You're always going to have the comparison of Allen to Mahomes, because Mahomes was the quarterback drafted with the Bills pick, right? When they traded down and got Trey. So you're always going to have that comparison. And that's never going to go away. It's the same comparison as Lamar to Allen, right? It was supposed to be Rosen to Allen. Won that one. Oh, hey, Mar wants to join. Yeah, Mar, I will send it to you right now. Hold on one sec. So I think it's really incredible when you have the opportunity to get a quarterback that's just built different than everybody else, right? Just the man is just built different. Um, Not only from a makeup standpoint, but if you want an ambassador to your team, an ambassador to your brand, it doesn't get much better than Josh Allen. It doesn't. Um, Let me forward this off to Mario, who looks like he wants to join me for morning coffee. This will be a fun little show. Um, Sports Hubs, 17 last week, put a team on his back and just straight up dominated. Put the team on my back. You might not know that reference. That's it's a really that's like an original YouTube reference. And Josh with a team, Mahomes with the dream. I like that, Evan. I like that. Good morning or good evening to Evan Anderson, by the way. So why is Allen different, right? Put it in the comment section. If you think Allen is different, what's the reason, right? I have mine. And we're going to talk about that. I'm sure Mara and I will talk in a second. I actually got to plug in headphones now that I think about it. Whoo, good thing I came prepared. Wait, unprofessional moment. I'm just going to click that little guy in. There we go. Okay. Woo. So sorry about breaking the fourth wall there. Believe me, the YouTube world is not a marvelous world. So looking at that game, right? You saw Buffalo be able to bring pressure with just 4. You can't do that with Allen, right? And I know people are going to look back at the Pittsburgh game and say, Paul, yes, you can. No, you can't. There's a lot of different reasons behind that. And really one of the primary ones, and good morning to Wiggy. So one of the primary ones is Allen just from top to bottom just never stops working, right? It's never an issue with Allen to worry about, his dedication to the Bills, his dedication to the brand, and being an ambassador, not only for the team, but just for everything in general. Now, I'm going to add in Mar because he's right here. Look at this guy. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, unicorns don't exist, Paul.
That's
What is with
a lie. That is a lie. I love that you put on location. You're hilarious.
I tried. Yeah, Paul, I just listened to the beginning part of the broadcast, and I just wanted to let Hashtag Nation know, and anyone who's watching this, this is nothing new to Hashtag Sports. I mean, we did 2 videos of Mahomes and Allen saying,
Yeah.
and Paul was the one that said it, hey, he's going to be compared to Mahomes more than anyone because of what the Bills had to give up to get him. More than Baker, you said more than Rosen. Whoops.
Yeah, I know. Won that one. Woo! Dodge that bullet.
Hey,
Dodge that
you
bullet.
wrote on a Post-it note, Baker Mayfield, no matter what.
Who's in first place in that division? Come at me. Come at me. All right. It's but you're right. When Allen was drafted, it was not an ideal situation in Buffalo, right? Because you got, a new regime and it just felt like the same old, same old. You got a quarterback you didn't exactly love, who had a lot of problems. And I heard on NFL radio this morning, Bruce Gradowski, and I don't remember who the other host was, talking about how Allen has improved his accuracy issues. And it proves that as a quarterback, you can improve your accuracy. No, it doesn't. Allen is not the standard. Right. Allen's not the standard. And I think Allen is the stick that everybody's going to start measuring by. And the reality is there is a million Christian Hackenbergs, a million Josh Rosens. There's one Josh Allen, because you're talking a total overhaul. And not only that, Mar, but what did Buffalo give Allen that none of those other teams could give their quarterback? Weapons, right? But the same coordinator, the same system.
Oh yeah.
Never changing, right? It's totally different.
We're gonna look down the line, maybe 2 or 3 years, and it's happening right now, where maybe not as mobile, but just as strong as arm, just a big a guy. The only comparable you can have to Allen right now is Herbert, who terrifies me.
Dangerous.
Herbert scares me. But how many guys over the years, Jeff George, Jay Cutler, had just rocket arms, but didn't have any consistency, like you said, with the offensive coordinators in the booth. Just the commitment, because aside from just being a heck of an athlete and, a strong arm quarterback, you said it perfectly, Paul. Nobody wants to be the quarterback of the Bills more than Josh Allen. I don't know if the full commitment of those other guys was ever evident. Like George and Cutler, and those guys just have huge arms and stuff like that. You can compare him to all of those. He is the exception. He's not the rule.
Well, and on top of that, right? So the one thing that I think is a stat that most people aren't going to talk about was Patrick Mahomes against Buffalo last week had the lowest air yards per attempt of his career by a mile, right? His air yards per attempt was less than 4 per pass. That tells you there was nothing going for Kansas City, right? Now, Mahomes' air yards per attempt through most of the season was 11. He was 4, right? Like it was a completely different game. And one that really, I think, draws a very fair comparison between Allen and Mahomes to say, okay, from a ramp perspective, right? If we're looking at ramping up a quarterback to a higher level, how do you do it? Well, Mar, I've got one for you. This is something you and I have never talked about, but I'm about to drop some knowledge on it that I think you're going to love, right? First off,
you usually drop these when I'm in the car, but you're sitting next to me. No,
I know, right? So did you realize that this year Josh Allen is going to set a career high in rushing attempts? He's on pace to set a career high, right?
Yes.
He's also on pace to set a career high for first downs by almost 20. Allen has rushed for 17 first downs already. We're only through week 5. That puts him at 54 for the season if this pace continues. On top of that, Mar, his yards per contact, or his yards prior to contact, is 4. He's running 4 yards before being touched. That's crazy numbers. Those are crazy numbers.
I think you zigged when you should have zagged on that one.
But why? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Last year, everyone thought he was going to run, and he threw the ball over the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're playing the pass.
Yep.
And now he's running. He's picking and choosing his spots. Now, okay, you got to be very judicious. I think Russell Wilson is one of those guys where he was very judicious about how he ran and when he ran. He always had his eyes downfield. You see Allen starting to do that now. Allen's rookie year, eyes are not downfield.
Nope.
He was, I'm taking off, one read, I'm out. And then, his second year, now Allen is more, now he's more judicious with when he runs, because he's like, hey, I know if I run, I could run 10 yards, but I'm going to be exhausted when I get back to the huddle. I'm going to have to take a shot. Let me keep my eyes downfield, see what I can find. So the problem is that he's balancing that out rather well. Now, is this a manifestation of the 17th game, or is this just he's going to shatter that record altogether?
No, he's gonna definitely break it. But the 17th game certainly helps, right? Because he's averaging what? He's 35. He's averaging. He's got 35 attempts through 5 games. So I mean, that extra game gets him a little over the hump. He would set it regardless, even if it was a 16-game season. He's still on pace to rush for more. And the crazy part to me is, Mar, the yards after contact is a career low, which. Get down, homie.
Yeah, go down,
Get
man.
down.
Go down.
Get down.
You got 260 million reasons to get down, bro.
Get down, man. Just get the first down. That's it. If you're gonna go, but just get the first down.
All we need to do is move the ball. Because there's nothing more frustrating to it. I mean, we have seen it in Buffalo with New England. Is how many times did you have New England in a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 8 over the years of the drought, and they get 9.
Right.
They get 7, and you're like, oh God, they're almost off the field. The frustration that other teams have with Allen keeping the drives going is absolutely ridiculous. But I mean, I know we're talking about Allen, but I wanted to do a side stat because I was doing some of my homework yesterday. Even with the 17th game, you know how I compared in the first 4 games, the Buffalo Bills defense gave up the least yards compared to 3 other Super Bowl teams, the 2013 Seahawks, the 1985 Bears, and the 2000 Ravens. Did you know that even with the 17th game, the Buffalo Bills defense is on pace to still have fewer yards allowed than the 85 Bears and the 2013 Seahawks, which is not the 2000 Ravens? Like, still with the 17th game, are still on pace to have fewer yards. That's crazy to me.
I think it's sort of, we talked about incumbent defenses, and we looked at it almost as a negative, right? And Josh said something this week to kind of bring it back to Josh, but to talk about the defense at the same time. We looked at incumbent defenses as in, okay, well, this is a problem because the league figures you out, right? Eventually the league figures you out. You have tendencies because it's the same returning players, so, the league's going to figure you out eventually. Josh said something on the Rich Eisen show this week that I thought was it's simple, but it made me just go, yes. And it was, there are 2 different types of people in this league. This is not a direct quote. I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so it's not verbatim, but this is pretty much the idea. There are 2 types of people in the league, guys who get figured out and guys who figure it out. And he's right. That's it. There's guys who get figured out and guys who figure it out. And the guys who figure it out are the ones that are successful. There was a comment somebody put in, Felipe put in, Lamar is playing better than Josh with almost 20 players on IR, no star receiver, trash D, and 28 and the 28th O-line in the league. Yeah, and I think part of, it was interesting, right? Because last year the Ravens graded relatively high in pass protection because Lamar was getting the ball out so quick, right? Whereas with Josh needs a little time, right? He can make it up as he goes. That's not a problem for him at all. But he does need a little bit of time to be deadly in the pocket. Both of them are deadly on the run. So I think there's a very, there's no comparison. Lamar is certainly a more electric athlete. But the fact of the matter is Buffalo's O-line just makes Allen project to be a better QB. It's going to be overall less punishment. It's overall an easier game for him to manage. Like that Ravens offensive line is so bad. At some point, Lamar is going to get hurt, right? And I think that's sort of when we start talking about comparing Lamar to Allen. I know it's cliche, but the reality is that line is so bad that Lamar's primed to get hurt, and it's not because he's a mobile QB. I would fear for any quarterback behind that offensive line. That offensive line is terrible. It is terrible.
Yeah, you got to be very careful though, Paul, and we have to be very careful because we have the Ravens super fans will sometimes come to our channel now because I did one video about Lamar Jackson's.
Just sprinkle that salt, Mar. Just sprinkle the salt.
Careful. I'll throw salt everywhere. Listen. Okay, we know that the offense that Greg Roman runs is probably more so. It's so perfect for what Jackson's strengths currently are. Mm-hmm. Now, I'll tell you this. That being said, I would have fired my DC if I was Frank Reich before we got to the locker room. Mm-hmm. I'm firing him. You talk about a team that's been injured as well. Now, if you want to compare them, let's talk about common opponent. They both played the Chiefs. I don't know who else they play that they would have in common. Mm-hmm. I mean, Lamar dropped 36 on them. Allen dropped 31. I know it was 38, but you got to remember the picks.
Yeah. You can't count that.
So if you want to compare that, you want to compare their statistics in that regard. That's fine. They are going to be compared because they are the two most, like you said, they are the most electric quarterbacks mm-hmm. when they're on the run or they're throwing. Seriously, Hollywood Brown and Andrews were the only two guys he was throwing to. You think you'd want to bracket one of them mm-hmm. and or cover the other one at all?
Right.
Like he was. But here's the thing about Jackson that I noticed about that game that I was watching is that if Jackson, it's not there, he runs immediately. Mm-hmm. Like he had 15 at one point. I think he had like 15 carries and he had like 3 incompletions. Now, other quarterbacks who aren't as mobile as Jackson, how many of those 15 runs are just them throwing the ball away and it's an incompletion?
Mm-hmm. Right. Or forcing something in. Right. Or forcing
exactly.
something. Yeah.
He runs it. And therefore, he's protecting the ball. Nobody could catch him. Like, it's ridiculous how elusive he is when he's mm-hmm. out in the open field. It's scary. Yeah. But you have to factor that in when you want to talk about its completion percentage and certain things like that. What did he throw, like 42 passes? He completed 36 of them? That's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. He had a game among games that I'm not going to take anything away from him. But you do have to factor that in with Jackson is the fact that when it's not there, 95% of the other quarterbacks will throw the ball away or try to force something. He runs, and he ends up getting first downs. That's why he's frustrated.
Right. Well, and it's sort of a strange comparison that you have to make between Allen and Lamar because they're so stylistically different, right? It's not like Baltimore hasn't thrown as many resources as possible at the wide receiver position. Like they've drafted wide receivers in the first round 2 out of the last 3 years, right? So the conversation on, well, they don't have enough talent. Well, that's their fault, right? Maybe they're not making huge, like big time investments, like making a big move like a Diggs, right? Because they don't trust that move pays off enough, right? Because he depends on mobility.
That's not the offense, Paul. That's not the offense.
You're right.
You and I both know this. Well, listen, just to give everybody a quick history lesson, all right? When this offense was instituted by Greg Roman, Colin Kaepernick was running it in San Francisco. His wide receivers were Michael Crabtree and a 33-year-old Anquan Bolden. The best and fastest wideout that he had was Vernon Davis, his tight end. So that offense was built around Kaepernick's legs and Vernon Davis, the tight end. Mm-hmm. Does that sound familiar to what's going on in Baltimore right now?
Right.
Michael Crabtree, Paul and I can outrun Michael Crabtree. So wait till he gets receivers. He had possession guys there.
Yeah. Well, and maybe the conversation is less because if you look at comparables, Mar, right? Baker, I don't think is a comparable to Josh at this point because Baker doesn't depend on mobility. Kyler Murray is a little bit of a different circumstance. And who mentioned it in the chat? Evan Anderson. I'm surprised you guys forgot about Murray after how many Hail Murray commercials they shoveled down our throats during the Chiefs game. Yeah, there were a lot. It was frustrating. Out of all, like, that's the commercial you play. You know, like, maybe the comparison is Kyler Murray, but again, totally different styles of athlete. You know, Josh Allen looks like a power forward. Kyler Murray looks like a point guard that you would have seen in 1984. Like, they're just different. They're different athletes. Arm strength is not comparable.
Oh my God,
it's not comparable at this point. That's what I mean. No, Josh is a unicorn because people saying that you can fix accuracy at an NFL level. No, you can't. You cannot fix accuracy at an NFL level. You can get lucky, and you can get a guy who literally doesn't stop working, and that's Allen. You know, like the incredible amount of work that he does to get better every single day and still be ambassador for the brand is incredible to me. Like, how many times have we heard quarterbacks get drafted say, well, he's got some accuracy issues? That's the end of his career. He's going to get it. He's going to get a little bit of a leash, and then after a while, it's going to kill you. It's going to kill you.
Yeah, what happens is those guys that have accuracy issues, it's not that they fix their accuracy, it's that they become better decision makers on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able, if they know immediately where to go with the ball and they end up making the read quicker, then they could relax and throw. But if those guys are still like all helter-skelter back there, you're going to see those accuracy issues resurface again and again.
You know, that's a great point, Mark. So let's go back to the Sanders touchdown that Allen threw last week, right? That one, that beautiful drop in the bucket, right? Allen's rookie year doesn't even attempt the pass. Allen his second year probably overthrows it. Allen his third year.
Allen in the first quarter overthrows it. That dude's all jacked up on Mountain Dew, man.
That's it. He comes at you like a spider monkey. But I think the difference, Mar, is he saw Sanders get inside, leverage inside. Like he got the corner out, and as soon as he saw these, like, okay, he split the corner in safety. I'm gonna have a window here. So you're right. I think accuracy issues comes with knowledge. It comes with seeing what's out there, right? He wasn't surprised that Sanders was beat. Had he waited another moment or two, he probably wouldn't have made that throw because there's no window there. That was a tiny, tiny window to throw a football in, but he lasered it in because he saw Sanders get inside leverage on the route and said, I'm gonna have a box here to throw. And he took his time, made a great throw, right? And you're probably right.
Yeah, isn't it terrifying the fact that him and Sanders are on that wavelength right now already?
I mean, like, Sanders is so great, dude. Sanders is so great.
The football IQ of Sanders is off the charts, and the fact that him and Allen, I think he said it in one of the post games. It might have been after Miami. He's like, "Yeah, I was actually supposed to run this route, but I looked at Josh and I adjusted it, and Josh adjusted to me." And you're like, "What?" Like he immediately, and then he threw that that 45-yard bomb that got him down there early. I remember that.
It's incredible. It's just incredible. We do have to touch base real quick on the Monday night game, and then I got to get to work. I think you probably do too.
I'm pulling in the last bit for me. I'm ready.
Sports Hub says, "What's your prediction for the Monday night game?" Do you have a prediction that you want to share, or do you want to hold this? Are you going to do a show tomorrow?
Who asked that question? Sports Hub.
Sports Hub.
Yeah. Have you watched Rocky 3? Addiction. Pain.
Get out of here with that.
I will say, if you guys were privy to the post game where I was dressed up like a mafioso, I said the king is dead. I didn't just say that for Mahomes. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Right now, the king is going down.
Ooh, all right. I'm excited about this game. You know, it's going to be the first time we really see Buffalo's run defense tested, like aggressively tested. And I'm excited for that. I'm real excited for that. We'll see what happens.
I'm excited that the fans get the NutraSweet version of Peyton and Eli and us, because we're going to be calling the game.
All right, Mar, I love you, brother. You go ahead. I will close up the stream, and you have a great one. Okay, I'll talk to you later today.
All right, brother.
All right. So before we get, oh, geez, it was a little close to my face there. Before we close out, there's one more topic that I want to get to, and that is DT O'Leary. Does anyone feel it's just a matter of time before Diggs runs out of patience and gets pissed about his lack of production? We said this last week, and I'm going to kind of hold to this, even though we've got scores flying in, right? None of them have the Bills losing. Shocker. First off, I look at Diggs this way. He's a captain now, and he wears that differently. He wears that very differently. And winning fixes everything. There's not a situation in this world where you can find somebody who's pissed because their team is winning, right? Not only winning, but smashing. You look at Dawson Knox just as an example, right? Do you think Dawson Knox is upset that his targets have gone down half since they brought in Emmanuel Sanders? No, Dawson Knox isn't mad about that at all. You look at Diggs. Do you think Diggs is mad that Emmanuel Sanders is cutting into his target share either? No, absolutely not. When you're a captain, you have to wear that differently, right? He's a representative not only for the wide receiver room, but for the entire offense. And he has even talked about never being given that opportunity. He takes it seriously. I don't think production might have been something that he demanded prior. It's a different game now for him. It's a different game. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm all about selfless play. And that's what you're seeing out of this Bills team. They are really playing like no one expects them to win, which is crazy. They take every off game approach. Every time they're not at a game, they look to get better. And that's because Diggs is always looking to get better. That's because Trey is always looking to get better. That's because Josh is always looking to get better. Nobody rests on their laurels, and they don't accept people who do. That's how you win in Buffalo this year. And I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. All right, guys. Paul, thanks for joining me for a little morning cup of coffee. I was surprised to have Mario in. I didn't. That was a nice little surprise. I don't see him much. And when we're not in the car, I don't see him much. Don't forget, tune into Tailgate Talk tonight, 7:30, Mike and Tommy. Mario will probably do a show on Saturday. No Bills game on Sunday, games on Monday. So enjoy your Sunday off. All right, love you guys. Don't forget, MrRogersHomes.com, CBDX.com, promo code HTS. And thanks to Matthew 25 Farms and Rick for joining us as well. And don't forget to click the link in our description for Patreon. Any comments? We read them all, man. So love you guys. Talk to you soon. Go Bills. Yeah. Bills to the moon. See you guys.